So we're looking at our second video on algebraic fractions, and we're sticking with a similar nature equations as the first. What we are doing is adding or subtracting algebraic fractions, and we're going to express them as a single simplified algebraic fraction. Just a quick recap on the steps that we need to take because they are exactly the same, just slightly harder in terms of what we have to do within these. We're going to multiply the denominators in each equation to find a common denominator because we're adding or subtracting fractions. We're then going to cross multiply to change the numerators, and then we're going to add or subtract the numerators if we can. Alright, so we've got this first question here, so it's 2 over x squared plus 5 over x. So because we have an x squared and an x, these are not the same denominator. To find a common denominator, we have to multiply the two denominators. So x squared times x gives me x cubed. And again, as I mentioned previously, if you're a wee bit rusty on it, watch the video on multiplying terms on algebra. So x squared times x gives me x cubed. Then I cross multiply to change the numerators. So I've got x times 2, which is 2x, and then I've got x squared times 5, which is 5x squared. So plus, because it's an adding question, plus 5x squared is what I've ended up with. Now, the last step is to simply add or subtract the numerators. I can't do that because this is an x and this is an x squared, so they're not like terms. However, we have been asked to express it as a single simplified fraction. So what we have to do is we have to look and see with all three terms, and when I say the three terms, I've got a 2x, a 5x squared, and an x cubed, and I have to see if there's a common factor between all three that I can divide by. And although there's no coefficient that I can divide 2, 5, and 1 by, what I can do is I can take an x out of each. So what I would do is I would divide the whole thing by x to simplify it. So 2x divided by x is just 2, plus 5x squared divided by x, so if I'm taking an x out of this one, is just 5x, and x cubed on the bottom divided by x just leaves us with an x squared. So that would be this question simplified and left as a single algebraic fraction. Okay, so remember to simplify at the end if we possibly can. The next question, okay, again, we're going to get slightly trickier each time, but the method is exactly the same. So we multiply the denominators. So I've got a times 4. So the denominator of our new fraction is going to be 4a. So a times 4 just gives me 4a. Cross multiply. So that is 4 times 9 on the top. 4 times 9 gives me 36. And then I've got a times ab, which gives me a squared b. Okay, and again, like I said, just if you're a wee bit rusty, watch the video on multiplying terms on algebra. At present, there's nothing I can take out of, okay, so there's no common factor of each of the coefficients because I've got 36, 1, and 4. Each of them are, I've got a square term in each. However, because b and a, I can't square root those, that's what we would leave the answer as. So there's nothing I can do here to simplify this. So that is our final answer. So not necessarily all these will simplify. Okay. The next question, all right, again, just working our way through these, making them gradually harder, but the method is the same. So it's a subtraction this time. So I multiply my denominators. So y times yx squared gives me y squared x squared on the bottom of our single algebraic fraction. Okay, cross multiply, so bottom right by top left. So yx squared times x gives me yx cubed. Remember to take an away sum, minus cross multiply the other way, y times 2, which gives me 2y. And again, in this question, there's no common factor in terms of the coefficients of each. So I have a 2, a 1, and a 1, so there's nothing I can divide by there. However, I can take a y out of all three terms, so I can divide across by y to simplify. All right, so if I remove a y from the first term, I'm just left with x cubed. If I remove a y from the second term, I'm just left with 2. And if I remove a y from, if I divide by y here, instead of y squared, I'm left with y, and that becomes y x squared. and that's as far as I can go in terms of simplifying. I'll post a couple of questions to try, and anything you're unsure about, just ask. We will look at in the next lesson questions involving brackets, and then we'll also look at algebraic fractions where we're multiplying and dividing, and then we'll move on from expressions and then look at equations.